you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
And overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Monday Night Football Overtime. Vikings, Seahawks, Monday Night Football. Anytime the Seahawks are on primetime television at home at the Link or CenturyLink. I don't want to call it the Link because I think that distinction goes to the Eagles. That's the Link. But anyway, it's pretty much money in the bank. All right. These Seahawks, they just don't lose on primetime television at home. All right. Under the bright lights, big stage, they seem to always rise to the occasion. It's not always pretty, and tonight was no different. It was not a pretty contest by any stretch of the imagination. The score actually doesn't do it any justice. The 21 points, if you watch this game, very misleading. This was a 6-0 game with about 5, maybe even 4 minutes to go in this football game. Seattle, I think they scored their touchdown with under 3 minutes to go to make it 12 and then tacked on a 2-point conversion. Then on the very next play that the Vikings had from scrimmage, forced a fumble, scooped it up, ran it for a touchdown. So it looks like a game, if you didn't watch it, oh, they scored some points. No, this was 6-0, all right? The two quarterbacks in this game were horrendous tonight. The offenses, respectively, give some credit to the Seahawks. They do what they do best, and they did it in this game. They run the football. I think, of all the teams that run it well in this league, I think they've made the most conscious and concerted effort to run the football this year. They've made the one move, taking George Font and making him their third tight end, essentially a tackle. He caught a pass tonight, so that's something to put on film and give teams something to think about. But nonetheless, putting an extra 320-pound guy out there as your extra blocker says, hey, we're trying to pound the rock. And the Seahawks mix no words. They make no bones about it. They're looking to pound the rock. Week in, week out. Don't care who your defensive line is. Don't care how good your front seven is. Don't care if it's 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 8. You never know. They might still try to run the damn ball. I mean, they've run the football probably at a higher clip than just about any team in the league. And it's funny saying that because the Ravens, Lamar Jackson had 27 rush attempts in one game. So they're giving the Ravens a run for their money, but the Seahawks run the football. I mean, look at Russell Wilson's numbers tonight. Man threw for less than 100 yards tonight, 72 to be exact. All right? The quarterbacks going into the fourth quarter, Kirk Cousins had less than 50 yards passing. Russell Wilson had, I think, those same 72 yards. I think he still had 72 yards passing. I mean, this game was atrocious from a quarterbacking standpoint. But when you look at the defenses, I thought that the Seahawks, they stepped up. They did what they've done for the most part this season. And they took it another level up, stopping the run, because you couldn't run the football on Seattle. That's been one of their Achilles heels this year, is stopping the run. And they've been better of late stopping the run. They were a lot better tonight. And they forced the Minnesota Vikings to be one-dimensional, and Kirk Cousins and that offense. And you know what? I know a lot of people are going to kill Kirk Cousins. Go right ahead. You know, I'm going to defend Kirk to the end. That's my guy. I think he's a really good quarterback in this league. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I've said that on numerous times. I've been on record as saying, look, Kirk's got a little bitch in him. I've said that before. You didn't see any of that tonight. Kirk wasn't scared. The moment wasn't too big tonight. But we've seen times where Kirk has shrunk in some big moments. I've said that. Kirk's got a bit of B word in him. But that wasn't what tonight was about. You know what you know who I think is really overrated? And I know a lot of people say, oh, you're talking about Kirk Cousins. No, I'm not talking about Kirk. You know who I think is really overrated? John DeFilippo looks real overrated to me. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm wrong here. John DeFilippo, all this hype about him being the next big thing as a head coach and a play caller, I'm not impressed with what I see out of the Vikings offense. They've got all that talent over there. You're telling me this is the best you can do? And don't try to act as if Kirk Cousins is somehow bottlenecking this offense, because he's not. All right? I don't love the play calls. Granted, and I will grant you that on that fourth down, down by the end zone when the Vikings went for it, Kirk made a bad read. And this is my thing. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down swinging with my best guys getting the football. And Kirk should know better. On fourth down, I'm looking for Thielen. I'm looking for Diggs. All right? My third option would be to look for my tight end, all right, Kyle Rudolph. I'm not looking for Kyle Rudolph as my primary read there. I want Thielen to win for me because that's the guy that I throw the football to. That's the reason he has 100 catches on the season. That's the guy I'm looking for on fourth down to win. I'm looking for Thielen. And he looked at Rudolph. Thielen won. That's where he needed to go with the football. That's what I'm talking about. In those types of situations, Kirk's got to step up and he's got to make the right decision. He's got to make the right throw. And he didn't do it there. But, again, there are so many false narratives regarding Kirk Cousins. It's not even funny. I heard Louis Riddick at halftime, and this is I try to stay away from the mass media, these national media guys, because they don't watch these teams individually. They don't actually know what's going on. So I try not to get into, debates about, what this guy said, what that guy said. That's why I don't watch the Stephen A. Smiths, the Skip Baylesses of the world, because these guys, they get snippets and they run with it. And that's their job, and they're good at what they do. But I heard a false narrative today at halftime. Kirk Cousins needs a run game to be effective. Have you not watched Kirk Cousins the last 3 years in D.C.? If you think Kirk Cousins needs a run game to be effective, then you haven't been watching Kirk Cousins the last 3 years. You shouldn't be speaking about Kirk Cousins and what he brings to the table if you don't know what you're talking about. Because Kirk Cousins has had no running game, zero running game in Washington, and he's been effective the last 3 years. Hell, you could argue the last 2 years, no offensive line. They've been banged up and in shambles, and he's still been effective. So miss me with the Kirk needs a run game to be effective, all right? Bottom line is, and we've seen it at times this year, that Rams game, where was the run game at? There was no run game. They still scored 31 and was in a shootout. Had a chance to win. Bottom line is, at the end of the day, this offensive line isn't very good. And I don't think John DeFilippo is all that great. They don't have any other receiver. I think Aldrick Robinson, and I don't know where he was tonight. I don't know if he was injured or what. He needs more opportunities. He needs to be the third wide receiver. Why do they keep trying to force Laquan Treadwell, this square peg, into a round hole? Get his ass out of there. Let me let y'all know, I'm not in the best condition tonight. So this show isn't going to be as long as it normally is. I'm running on fumes right now. But get Laquan Treadwell's ass out of there. All right? Aldrick Robinson has been way more efficient, way more effective, way more productive this season. I want guys that when I throw it to them, they're going to catch the goddamn football. Get his ass out of there. And so I feel like they could maximize this offense by putting all of their best guys on the field at once. And then I think they can do a better job of play calling. I don't think DeFilippo does a great job of putting guys in positions to win. Yeah, they want to take away Thielen. Okay, fine. You want to take away my best receiver? Then Diggs will kill you. You can't take away both of them because if you do, somebody else has to be open. So I don't know if they're scheming it up right. There is never, and I don't give a shit what the defense is doing. I could care less. I don't give a damn if they've got 8. I don't care if all 11 defenders are checking my best receiver. There is no excuse for your best receiver, a guy coming into the game with 98 catches, no excuse for this guy to go without a target, not let alone a catch. Forget about the fact that the man didn't have a catch. There's no excuse for the man not having a target in the first half. I can never understand that. And to me, that falls solely on the shoulders of a play caller. Because if I'm John DeFilippo, right off the bat, I don't give a damn if it's a bubble screen. I don't give a damn if it's a jet sweep. I don't care if it's just him coming in motion, Kirk catches it out of shotgun, and then just tosses it to him. I'm getting Adam Thielen the football. Early. But again, what do I know? I'm just a professional football watcher. That's it. So, again, I think the guy that's overrated here isn't Kirk Cousins. It's not number 8. I think it may be John DeFilippo. That's the guy that I think is supremely overrated right now. Haven't been impressed with what I've seen from him this season. Their offense looks extremely vanilla to me. I know that Zimmer came down on him. Zimmer came down on him and said, hey, look, bruh, I want more runs. I hear that. There's a way to get your runs incorporated and still get the ball to your playmakers. One doesn't have to be at the expense of the other. And again, and people keep making it seem like John DeFilippo's been calling plays for the last 7 years. He doesn't have that much experience. He may have called plays, with the Browns, if I'm not mistaken, once upon a time, he was a quarterback's coach last year. He wasn't dialing up plays last year. He wasn't the OC. That was Frank Wright that was the OC last year with the Eagles. He was the quarterback's coach. So, I'm not sure if John DeFilippo is all that people trying to. I'm not letting you sell me a bill of goods, man. Miss me with the John DeFilippo is the next big thing as a head coach. I'll pass. Thanks. Anyway, big win for Seattle, man. I've said this at least going back to the Green Bay game when they won on a Thursday night. They're going to make the playoffs. They're a dangerous team. It sucks that they're not going to get a home playoff game because that's how they would be able to maximize their potential this year. It's going to be tough for them to go on the road and beat, say, a Chicago. They've already lost to Chicago this year. You saw what Russell Wilson did today. The Bears can shut off the faucet running-wise, and Russell Wilson struggles. I get it. No Doug Baldwin. That really, it really inhibits what you do, and it really handcuffs you a little bit. But Tyler Lockett has been extraordinary this year. David Moore has made some big plays for them. They got enough stuff out there that they should be okay offensively and not struggle the way that they did. Jerron Brown has been good at times, especially a couple of weeks ago. He had a breakout game for them. Bottom line is, I don't see this offense evolving at the point to where I feel like they can go on the road and beat Chicago. Go on the road and beat Dallas. I don't see that happening. So while this is a nice story, I don't see them beating Chicago. But right now, where they are in the NFC, they're locked into the 5th seed. So whoever is the 4th seed, which right now is probably going to be Dallas, they've got a much better shot at beating Dallas than they do Chicago. So if they can get that 4 or 5 matchup and have it be the Bears, I think they feel really confident that they can go into Dallas and beat the Dallas Cowboys. And they're going to have a shot because they play defense. They can run the football. Dallas doesn't score a bunch of points. And if they can force a turnover too, we saw Dak turn it over a ton of times the other day against the Philadelphia Eagles. If they can force a turnover too, they'll have a shot versus the Dallas Cowboys. That should be an interesting matchup there because it looks like the first 5 seeds in the NFC to me are locked up. Now, the positioning, you don't know which 5 is going to be where. Seattle's locked into 5. We can already go ahead, pencil in. Matter of fact, write Seattle Seahawks as the 5th seed in the NFC. Write that in magic marker. Does anybody even call it magic marker anymore? Write it in permanent marker, right? I'm showing my age. Write it in permanent marker. You don't have to erase that. You have to mark it out. They're going to be the 5th seed in the NFC. All right? Now, where things get interesting is the 1 and 2 seeds. Obviously, both teams right now sitting at 11 and 2. And again, if they finish tied, Seattle owns the Saints own the tiebreaker. So they'd be your number 1 seed. But they both got losable games down the stretch. All right, next week, the Rams taking on the Philadelphia Eagles at home. It should be a win, but who's to say? Meanwhile, the Saints have the Panthers twice in the last 2 weeks, and they've got the Steelers sandwiched in between at home. They can lose any one of those 3 games. So either way, that's going to be fascinating to see how that finishes. But those 2 are going to be your 1 and 2 seeds. So they're not moving from 1 or 2. It's just which one's going to be which. I think the Bears are going to be your 3 seed, but the Dallas Cowboys are knocking on the door. Cowboys are knocking on the door. Bears, don't open that shit up. Do not open the door. It's the Cowboys, and they want the 3rd seed. Don't let them come take it from you. All right? Bears are at 9 and 4. They continue to win. They'll get the 3rd seed. Cowboys probably be your 4th seed. Seahawks are going to be your 5th seed. And then, like I told you yesterday, the shame of my Redskins not having a competent quarterback. Do you see the number 6 seed in the NFC? Everyone has 6 wins and 7 losses except for the Minnesota Vikings, and that's because they have a tie. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. If we still had Alex Smith, we'd definitely be in the playoffs this year. Without a question. If we had Colt McCoy, we'd definitely be in the playoffs this year. Without a question. It blows my mind that the 1 year that we don't have just competency at quarterback, the damn NFC playoffs final position in the wild card race is trash, and we could get in on a back door. I mean, we could sneak in the back door. Hey, shh, psst, psst, Seattle. Hey, go open the back door for me, man. Let me in through the back. I don't have no money to pay to get in. Let me in through the back. We could have got in for free. They're giving away a free ticket to the playoffs in the NFC. And nobody wants to buy. Nobody wants to get in. It's a damn shame. But back to Seattle. I went off on a tangent. They can run it. The defense has gotten better week by week by week. This defense continues to grow. I've talked about how impressed I've been with the coaching job that Pete Carroll did this year with these young guys. It's a very young football team, and they've come together at the right time. I told you, this offense is what it is. I don't foresee this offense getting much better than what it is. They've got limitations, especially throwing the football. They're not a creative offense, so you're not going to see too much from them. What they want to do is run, set up, play action, fake, boom, Tyler Lockett for 53 yards, touchdown. That's the basis of what they try to do offensively. You know, run, boom, play action, fake, and here comes Doug Baldwin running across the field, 33 yards, and a chunk play. That's essentially what this offense is all about. They want to run, and just when you think you know what's coming, it's another run, stick it in the belly of the back, pull it out, Russell Wilson, 7-step drop, lets it rip. There's not much to this offense. You just can't give up the big play. Vikings didn't give up the big play tonight. You saw the Seahawks struggle. That's essentially what you got to do. Don't give up big runs. Don't give up big plays over the top. They want to hit shots. David Moore had a chance. If he could have dragged that second foot, he would have had a touchdown. That's what they want to do. Run, play action fake. David Moore over the top, had a touchdown. He didn't get his second foot down. That's the Seattle Seahawks offense. So when that goes up against the Bears, it goes up against the Cowboys, two of the most elite defenses in the league, they're going to shut that shit off. And so it's going to be tough for them to score. Hell, Minnesota's defense, not all that bad. It's not great. It's not as good as they've been in the past. It's not the Vikings defense of last year. But you saw what they did tonight. It was 6-0. They had every opportunity to steal this game to the Vikings. And they just couldn't get done. And credit that Seahawks defense. They have to re-sign Frank Clark. I believe he's a free agent this upcoming offseason. They got to re-sign Frank Clark. To me, after Wagner, he's the next most important piece on that defense. What he does up front and how he's grown, the maturation of Frank Clark. Remember, he came in as a woman beater and nobody wanted to take him. Seahawks took a flyer on this guy. We haven't heard anything about that off the field situation since he's gotten in the league. The man has worked to clean up his image, and he's gotten better. When he first came out of Michigan, I was like, this guy's a power pass rusher. Doesn't have a lot of juice off the edge. Now this guy can beat you with a bull rush. You saw him beat the tackle. And again, it's the Vikings offensive line, so take it with a grain of salt. But you saw him bull rush the tackle, put him in the lock of Kirk Cousins, forced him outside, and then ran him down. But he can also beat you with speed off the edge, time up the snap, get off the edge with some quickness, and get around the corner. And Frank Clark brings an element to their team that without him, they're not the same defense. So I think him and, of course, the leader of that defense, Bobby Wagner, are the heart and soul of what they do defensively in that front seven, which is the best part of their defense. I think they can be exposed in the secondary. It's a very young secondary. You've got a second-year corner in Shaquille Griffin on one side. You got Trey Flowers, a converted safety, at the other cornerback spot. So they're very young in the secondary. They can be exposed there, but because they're so good up front, it's hard to be able to push the football down the field on the Seattle Seahawks defense. And they've got a formula. They know what they want to do. They play cover 3. They play it well. And it's been working for them. And it also helps to play in the NFC West. That helps too. 2 games against the Cardinals, 2 games against the Niners. It sucks to have to play the Rams twice, but they've already taken care of those 2 games. Almost won both of them, but lost both of them. But now their final 3 games, 2 of them against the Cardinals and the 49ers. 49ers next week, Cardinals in week 17. They should win both of those, you know. And sans for the game against the Chargers at home where they lost, this has been a really good Seattle Seahawks team since week 8 or so. They've been pretty consistent. You know what you're getting from week to week. And I know what they are as a football team. I know what they are. I know what they're capable of. And it sucks that they're not going to get a home playoff game, because if they got a home playoff game, they'd be able to beat somebody in the playoffs. They are capable of beating the Bears or the Cowboys at home. What they're incapable of doing is going to Chicago and winning. They can go to Dallas and win. That is in the foreseeable future if they are to lock down the 5th seed, which I think is a foregone conclusion at this point, and the Cowboys remain your 4th seed. They better hope that the Cowboys don't overtake the Bears and the Bears end up being the 4th seed, because I don't see them going to Chicago and winning. I just don't see that. That's a really bad matchup for them. I think the Cowboys are much more favorable for them than that of the Chicago Bears. So there's that, but big win for them. They made all the plays in the game. I thought one of the biggest plays of the night, two big plays actually. The 4th down missed by Kirk Cousins. Again, bad read. You know, if I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm staring down Adam Thielen. Stop my best guy. You stop him, you got me. You got me. Handcuffs. All right, take me. You got me. Hands up. But you got to stop him. That's what I'm going to. And he won. He won. He was open. Got to give him the football. But that's where John DeFilippo needs to step up and make some better calls. You got 1st and goal from essentially, let's call it the 5-yard line. I need you to, it was the 10. They called, no, it's about inside the 5. I need you to call some better plays. There was really, really no creativity there. But like I said, Kirk, I put 4th down on Kirk. He's got to make a better read. He's got to go to Thielen there. Like I said, I'm going down swinging. I'm going down swinging with my best guys. Thielen is my best guy. That's who I'm looking for on 4th down with the game on the line. So there's that. But the other big play was the field goal block. That was obviously leverage. Come on, guys. And the official made the call in the moment. He knew what he saw, and he allowed one of the other officials to talk him out of it. This is a great play by Wagner, but he used both of his teammates on both sides to push himself over the top and get to the ball and block it. That's leverage. That's automatic 1st down. It's 15 yards. Worst case scenario. Say the Vikings still can't get it in the end zone. You walk away with a field goal there. It changes the entire tenor of the football game. The entire tenor of the football game. But anyway, just like boxing, don't allow the judges to decide the outcome of the game. Don't leave it in their hands. Don't leave it in the officials' hands. We've seen the officials botch games this season. Don't leave it in their hands to figure out. They've shown the ability to F shit up this season. So don't allow them to make a judgment call that can sway the game one way or the other. Make plays. You didn't make enough of them in this game. So you lose. It's really simple. Defense stepped up right before the half. Russell Wilson, what the hell are you thinking throwing the ball up for grabs like that? What are you doing? I mean, seriously, and you know better. And in a game like this, you can ill afford to turn it over. You need to wash your face and get your damn mind right. Throwing that damn pick to Eric Kendricks at the end of the half. Boy, that could have cost you. You lose this game 7-6. Man, are you kicking yourself at game's end. That was stupid. But you got away with it. Again, credit the defense. Thought the defense for really both teams stepped up. I know who the Seahawks are. So them being unimaginative and limited with creativity on offense doesn't surprise me. What I am disappointed in is the Vikings' lack of creativity on offense. With all the weaponry that they have. You arguably have the best tandem of receivers in the league in Diggs and Thielen. And they're just not getting enough touches. You know, early in the season, those dudes couldn't get the rock enough. Every week I'd look up Thielen with 11 catches, 14 catches, Diggs with 9, 7, 8. Now all of a sudden teams are like, oh, okay. 11's not, or 14's not beating us, and 19's not beating us. Who else you got? And everybody else is looking around like, I don't know. Treadwell? Tight ends, maybe? I don't. Who else is beating you? The answer is nobody. So if I'm the Vikings, I'm making sure that those guys, the reason the Texans won 9 games in a row, yeah, they can run the football, and they've been relatively balanced. But you know what else is scary? Yeah, and yeah, you know, Watson using his legs, that's scary too. But you know what else is scary? Having to guard Nuke every week. You don't think teams go into the game saying, hey, we got to stop Nuke. I don't really give a shit what we do. We got to stop number 10. Yeah, they do that. You know what the Texans still do? Get the football to Nuke. I don't give a shit. He's still going to get 10 targets, and he's probably going to still have 7 catches every week. Mandatory. No less than 5 catches every week for Nuke. There's no reason for Adam Thielen and Diggs to have less than 7 to 10 targets apiece every week and at least 5 grabs every week. No excuse. Find ways. Scheme it up. In any event, big win for Seattle. They get it done 21-7. They moved to 8-5 on the season, and like I said, they've essentially locked up the 5th seed in the NFC playoffs. They're going to win. And I told you this on the Lockdown Coverage podcast about 3 weeks ago, that they're going to win 10 games. Looking at their remaining schedule 3 weeks ago, I said they're going to win 10 games. If they continue to play the kind of football that we've seen them play, they're going to win 10 games. Minimum. And all they got to do is win 2 out of their final 3. If they lose to Kansas City in Week 16, that's fine because they're going to win against San Francisco on the road next week, and they're going to beat Seattle or Arizona at home in Week 17. They're going to win 10 games. So they're going to the playoffs. They're going to be your 5th seed. As for the Vikings, they're in limbo right now. They're at a crossroads. All right? I'm going to tell you right now, your season's on the line in Week 15. I'm going to tell you right now, here's why. Not because the 6th seed is in peril, danger. The Rams should beat the Eagles, so they should have their 8th loss. The Redskins stink. They're going to lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to have their 8th loss. And the Panthers have to play the Saints on Monday night. The Panthers are capable of winning that game at home, but they're also capable of losing that game. They can have their 8th loss. So you could conceivably lose to the Dolphins and have your 7th loss next week and still be in the playoffs. But come on, let's think about this for a second. One, the Packers, no one's talking about the Packers because it seems like their season's done. They scored 34 points yesterday. All right, in case anybody wasn't paying attention, they scored a lot of points yesterday. They've got an easy schedule down the stretch. They could run the table. Could be Green Bay Packers, right? Very possible that they could run the table. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you look at the Packers, they're at 5-7-1. Everybody's writing them off because they seem dead. They run the table, and it's not inconceivable that they get to 8-7-1, and you look around the rest of the NFC, and everybody else has got 8 losses. Because the Redskins are going to lose. The Panthers are going to lose at least once more. They're going to lose to the Saints one more time at some point, whether it's in Week 17 or if it's in Week 15. They're going to lose. So that's 8 losses for them. And you look at the Eagles. They're going to lose to the Texans or they're going to lose to the Rams next week. So they're going to have 8 losses. So nobody's talking about the Packers. Packers are way off in the distant back of the playoff race. But if you lose to the Miami Dolphins next week at home, which is a very winnable game, your ass is done. You're cooked. I'm going to sit Green Bay on your ass. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell Aaron Rodgers, you have no business making the playoffs, but come get this spot, man. Don't nobody else want it. Come get the spot. I can sneak you in the back door. Come get this spot. So, it's up to you. Now, the playoff spot is yours if you want it. Because you got the Dolphins next week, and then you're at the Lions. Those are 2 winnable football games. You win those 2 games, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're in. You lose one of those 2 games, I'm taking your ass. I'm yanking you up by your collar, and I'm telling you, hit the road. Get the hell out. You're not going to the playoffs this year. You don't need to go no goddamn where. So, you got 2 weeks to get your shit together. Starts next week. Figure it out. All right? And the Dolphins, they smelling themselves. They think that they beat the Patriots last week. So now they think, oh, shit, we can beat anybody. False. And Tannehill, if I'm not mistaken, he hurt his ankle. I don't even know if he's playing next week. Bottom line is, you need to win that football game. And you're going to have to play way better than you did the last 2 weeks on the road. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, let's go back to the top and get to the comment section. See what you guys are talking about. I got Munson says, Seattle is mad scary right now. Wilson has some playmakers on the outside when healthy and an excellent balance with power and speed in the run game. Teams in the NFC better not sleep. Seattle is scary to a point. Again, I've already given you my synopsis on the Seahawks. I know who they are. I know what they're capable of. They're not capable of going to Chicago and winning. They are capable, however, of going to Dallas and winning. They're not capable of going to L.A. and winning. They're not capable of going to New Orleans and winning. All right? It's family business with the Rams in L.A., so if they were to go there, maybe they got a shot. Maybe they got a shot. But they're not going to New Orleans and winning, and they're not going to Chicago and winning. So they're very limited. Their best track to having any damage in the NFC playoffs is playing the Cowboys in Wild Card Weekend. Colts fan says, the announcers after the Wilson pick, LOL. Yeah, they went in on him. I mean, I heard bonehead, stupid, foolish. I mean, they went in on his ass, and they should have. That was a really bad decision. Colts fan says, Vikes, Jags, and Eagles equals 1-year wonders. That's what the league is set up for. Now, the Vikings, I don't think they're as much of a one-year wonder as much as it was so much turnover. Like, people make people just love to take a guy out, plug another guy in, and think that the party just keeps on going. There's something to be said about continuity and what that actually means. You know, people underestimated what Case Keenum meant to this football team. People underestimated what their offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur, meant to this football team last year. There was creativity with this offense. Maybe some of it was due to the fact that Case Keenum was at quarterback. You had to be a little creative. But at the end of the day, you move on from one offensive coordinator to the next. You bring in another quarterback, move on from the last quarterback. Or hell, you cleaned house at the quarterback position, essentially. All the quarterbacks that were on the roster last year, gone. Entering Kirk Cousins. It changes things. There's a level of familiarity that needs to be gathered. Kirk has to know that Thielen's going to win on that fourth down. You know what that takes? Time. He'll trust that Thielen will find a way to win, and he'll stick with that read, and he'll be on that read from the jump and say, you know what? I'm going down with my ace. Is Thielen or Diggs, or is nobody? And that'll come eventually. That doesn't come overnight. He'll go back, he'll watch tape, he'll kick himself. He probably went back, and Kirk's very dedicated on the sidelines to going over and getting that tablet, that Windows Surface tablet. And I'm pretty sure he immediately diagnosed what he did wrong and said, shit, I should have went to Thielen. I should have zeroed in on Thielen. That takes time, though. The Jags were a one-year wonder, yep. And the Eagles, yeah, they were a one-year wonder as well. But the league is set up for that. I got Munson says, glad to see Griffin out there shining at corner. Also very impressed with that other kid in Flowers. Kirk and the Vikings still in it. Got to look in the mirror and stay together. They're fine. Like I said, they beat Miami next week. All is well. They lose to Miami, then there's a problem. As far as Flowers is concerned, he looks good from a height, weight, speed standpoint. He's so long. Pause. He's long. He has that Seahawks look of a Seahawks corner, but he's still raw. You know, still grabby, still a guy you can beat on the outside. But with time, those guys can develop into a really good tandem out there at the cornerback position. Colts fan says, are the Vikings still in good position for the playoffs? Because the Eagles and Panthers both have tough schedules. I pretty much just went through it. Pretty much just went through the scenario in the NFC playoffs. JP says, Kirk again stinking up the joint on Monday night. Skins are not much better either, though. Like I said, had Kirk still been in Washington, the Redskins are a playoff team. They might be winning the division right now. It's a shame because, hell, if Alex Smith was still in the saddle, the Redskins might be winning the division right now. It's a shame. JP also says, I hope this is the last time we put Kirk Cousins and worth the money in the same sentence again. Look, for anybody out there that's a Kirk detractor that doesn't like Kirk Cousins, you're going to be hypercritical of him. Kirk is not perfect. He was never perfect. He was flawed when he went to Minnesota. He got paid because he was the next guy up. It's simple logic. It's a simple equation. Next guy up plus quarterback position equals large lump sum of money. It's really a simple equation. The variable there, the team. You don't know what team is going to pay him the money, whether it's the team that drafted him or they hit free agency like Kirk Cousins did. Bottom line is generally when you have a quarterback of Cousins' caliber, he generally doesn't hit the streets. But the Redskins are such a moronic organization that they allow even the Bengals locked up Andy Dalton. Kirk Cousins and Andy Dalton are, to me, at the time when Kirk should have gotten paid, were right on par with one another. Kirk has since elevated himself over Andy Dalton. And Kirk has never played with a receiver the likes of A.J. Green. But bottom line is, not to make any excuses for Kirk. He's limited as a quarterback. He's going to make some mistakes. Sometimes the pressure does get to him. But in order for you to maximize what he brings to the table, you got to protect him. Got to protect him. And they don't do enough quick game in Minnesota. They don't do nearly enough quick game. Kirk Cousins may be one of the best quick game quarterbacks in the league, not named Brady, Breeze, and Rodgers. Kirk Cousins is one of the best quick game quarterbacks in the league. Quick at cutting the field in half, dissecting where the ball needs to go, knowing what the defense is in, knowing where the ball needs to go, and get rid of it quick. They don't do enough of that in Minnesota. And with that offensive line, they should be running a bunch of quick game. But, again, if you don't like Kirk Cousins, if you think he's not worth the money, then you're going to be biased towards that. But make no mistake about it. Kirk Cousins wasn't worth the money he got from the Vikings in Washington. We didn't want to pay him that much money. But we shouldn't have had to pay him that much if they would have paid him when the man was asking for $48 million. And the Redskins only offered $24 million guaranteed. Simple as that. In 2015, he should have gotten paid. But we don't need to do that tonight. I agree with Kirk is not the problem. He's not the problem. Atlas says, woo, here we go. Defense, here we go. Skunked. Kirk turned to Kurt. But how much of that was scary Seattle defense and how much of that was money Goodell paid the Vikings to rig the game? Good question. I don't have the answer to that. Michael Thompson says, Pete Carroll, the chewing maniac. Boy, he be working that gum over, man. And I'm talking about the wad be about this big. Pete's got to have the strongest jaws in the league by far. Pause. I'm talking about Pete be working that gum over. That gum has to have lost flavor by the end of the second drive of the game. Gum's done. I hope he's filtering through gum as the drives pass on. He can't be chewing on the same gum from the opening kickoff. At least he's got to switch out the gum after the quarter. He's got to make the switch. I'd like to hope that Pete's swapping out gum after each quarter. You can't go to halftime with the same gum you start the game with. Not the way Pete is working that gum over. Got to make the switch after the quarter is over. Caden Boyer says, that illegal field goal block, absurd, they didn't call it back. That was a turning point in the game. Cody _1804 says, Welp, I am a happy man. Look, your Packers are still in it, man. They didn't even put them on the screen. But they're the team that everyone should be fearing right now. Because they only have 7 losses. And I'm telling you right now, their schedule is very doable. And I'm also telling you that every team that has 7 losses right now is going to get their 8th, except the Packers. So, they got a shot. What are those TS decals the Vikings have on their helmets? Obviously, it's honoring someone that passed away. I don't know who. You'd have to ask a Vikings fan. But I couldn't tell you. Ali Side says, it seems like Bruce Allen is coming to Oakland. And I can't wait for that podcast. I can't wait for him to carry his ass as well. I've been waiting for that moment. The time is here. They got rid of Reggie McKenzie. They opened up the path for Bruce to come in. Get the hell out of town. Get your shit and go. Much faster than slow. Please. Enrique Valencia says, good old Kirk Cousins. Does next to nothing for the entire game, but gets to pad stats when the game is already decided. Overrated. I can't tell you how often we hear that. Tonight was a stat padding situation, but that's not always the case for Kirk. But I'm not going to argue with people that if you don't like Kirk, there's nothing I can say to you to change your mind. Ree says, hey, Ree, I got a bone to pick with you, man. You a funny-ass dude. You know that, Ree? Because, and here's why. Because when shit is going well, you make sure to give me a full, thorough report before I even watch the game. I know exactly what went down, how it went down, so I know what I'm getting into. I didn't hear any mention of Cairo Santos going 4 for 4. You know why I didn't hear it this week? Because his ass missed 2 field goals. That's why. You a funny-ass dude. We talked yesterday. I didn't have one mention of Cairo Santos. One. I know why now, because I watched the game. You're a funny-ass dude. And I told you to chill. Chill. Now, Kairos might still be good, but he had a rough day yesterday. And that helped cost you the game as well. Anyway, Reese says, there should be some sort of law against wearing all neon green as a uniform. I don't have a problem with it. Shandon Roll says, would you rather Saints face the Vikings or the Seahawks? Honestly speaking, it doesn't really matter. Neither one of them can beat the Saints. So, it really doesn't matter, honestly speaking. If I'm the Saints, I'd much rather face the Vikings. You know what? I'll take that back. They can be explosive on offense. I'd much rather face the Seahawks. If you can stop the run, then you can beat the Seattle Seahawks. John Perez says, what happened to all that world defense the Vikings were supposed to have when they needed to get stops at the end? Don't get me wrong, I like the Vikings a lot, but that defense choked. I wouldn't call that choking. I'd call that being worn down. They did so much to keep them in the game tonight, and at some point, you can bend. At some point, if the offense doesn't step up and give you something, eventually the dam is going to break, and it broke eventually down the stretch. Derek B says, if the NFC wasn't so bad, the Vikings wouldn't even be in the hunt, and Kirk would be the biggest bust since Brock Weiler. Really? So we're combining first and last names now? Osweiler? We're just calling him Brock Weiler? I like that, though. No. To me, I don't agree. I do agree if the NFC looked anything like the AFC, then the Vikings wouldn't even be in the discussion. But bottom line is, the NFC is the NFC, and they have a shot. And their schedule was brutal this season. And it's the first year. Everyone likes to jump to conclusions. This is what happens when everyone falls into the false narrative. Oh, this team was 13-3 last year. Insert better quarterback equals 14-2 Super Bowl this year. That's the dummy for football 101, dummies for football 101 take. If you've watched football for any amount of time, you know it doesn't work like that. Peyton Manning didn't come to Denver, and in his first year, they go to the Super Bowl. It takes time. Now, they were good, but not good enough to go to the Super Bowl. And we were talking about Peyton Manning, one of the greatest of all time. Kirk Cousins is not that. So, bottom line is, it takes time. And everybody wants to jump to conclusion, use the B word after 1 year. You know how I feel about that. I'm not going to get into that. Cody says, are the Vikings even going to make the playoffs? They can. They got to win. They win next week. They win against the Lions the week after. I think they're going to make the playoffs. He says, can the Vikings beat the Dolphins? Yes, they can beat the Dolphins. Black LB says, fire DeFilippo. Fire DeFilippo. Look, that's the guy that I see is the problem right now. I'm not saying fire him. Again, 1 year for him too. So everybody needs time to mesh and meld together. So I'm not going to throw him under. I'm just telling you, after all of the acclaim that this man came with to the position, I thought I would see more. But I'm here to tell you that he needs more time, just like Kirk Cousins needs more time. You know, the answer isn't firing the offensive coordinator and getting a new guy in here and mixing things up again, because then Kirk, all of a sudden, in this whole entire offense, all of a sudden has to start all over again. There's no familiarity. They got to start all over again. So you'd like to see some kind of continuity. The second year, ask Matt Ryan how much a difference a year makes being in the offense for the second year. Look at the first year with Kyle Shanahan versus the second year with Kyle Shanahan. Super Bowl MVP. First year, man, everybody was talking about, man, too big of a playbook. Matt Ryan can't even digest it. I feel like my nose is running. I don't know. I got to go. My nose is about to start running. I got to get out of here. I appreciate you guys chiming in. I see my man RG3 hashtag says this game was mad boring. Yeah, it was. I'll agree with that. This wasn't all good defense. This was some bad offense, too. But anyway, I got to go. My nose is about to start running on camera. I can't allow that to happen. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie T Network. Make sure you like this video, share it, and also be on the lookout for the podcast. That will be coming tomorrow. Lockdown coverage, and then the Louie T Network podcast will be coming later on in the week. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage. It could be. I'm your man Louie T signing off. Seahawks get the win. 21-7. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty. It was a dub. They're now 8-5, and for all intents and purposes, they've locked down the number 5 seed in the NFC playoffs. Meanwhile, for the Vikings, they're now 6-1, and they're reeling, but the rest of the NFC is reeling for that 6th spot, so they're still there. They win next week versus the Dolphins, and the week following versus the Lions, and they'll be just fine, but they need to win, and they need to win next week. We'll see if they're able to get it done, but that's all the time I have. I gotta go. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Louie T.